This is Nick Vivion, Editorial Director for tnoooz. I'm here ITB Day 1 with Professor Doctor, I think, Claudia Brozel. I love in German how we have Professor Doctor, because my father is also a Professor Doctor, and I grew up in Basel, actually, so it was always a joke, 'cause it's Herr Professor Dr. Vivion, and it was every single greeting, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you have quite the history with ITB. You were
Yes,
just saying.
it's my 31st ITB.
31.
31 once ITB. So I had a long history here, and I just start talking with some of my students that in the beginning, I think it is around 8 years, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years, 9 years ago, there was only a desk when we started with the topic of e-tourism.
And now?
And now
huge.
it's 2 halls.
And even 2+ a little bit. There's
Yeah,
kind
2+
of starts
a
to
little
go
bit.
in.
Yeah.
So as you see the show grow, how's your relationship to travel changed, or has it kind of been consistent? Do you find new topics to talk about, or let's go straight into that.
That's an interesting question. I was just thinking about over-tourism. So over-tourism is a topic that is here all around, and it's just like marketing for me, the word over-tourism, because we are talking since the 60s or before about that the crowds are very annoying for the people who are living somewhere, but the masses of tourists are getting more and more and more every year, so we start talking again about over-tourism or the people who don't like the tourists to be there, and maybe we should talk about the behavior, how we are behaving when we are guests somewhere. And we start talking about that, and in a way I'm glad that we talk about things like that. So sometimes there are new topics like artificial intelligence and things like that, robots, but sometimes the travel business is all about authenticity, feeling at home when you are traveling, and so the topics are coming again and again and again. It's a little bit a circle.
Always a cyclical, right?
Yes.
It always is. I've also been thinking a lot about how destinations have a responsibility to kind of understand that when you market a certain way, the type of person changes. They have to be very careful. Like for Cancun or something, if you're advertising spring break and someone comes and does spring break and they're drunk and crazy, you did this, so you have to take the responsibility for your own marketing, and I think we forget that,
Yeah, but on the other hand, things are changing very quickly. So my son is 24, and he's at the moment as a young musician traveling to China, and he doesn't speak any language, but he has WeChat and he has the translator and he's chatting to all these people there. So things are changing. When I traveled with 20, 23, I went out, I went to a destination, and I went to Spain and I talked Spanish, and then I learned a little bit how the destination is working, and I knew some people, and then it starts. But he started here.
So in advance, right?
Yeah.
You had to get there first.
Yeah.
Right. It's amazing.
So it's amazing what is going on today and how easily it's working. So put someone with some other person in connection, and they start and they put you here and there, and you get connected to everybody. So I think in a way, the way of how we live, how we work, and how we travel is changing very fast.
And you like that? You think it's a good thing, or is it just one of the things that is, and it's not good or bad, it just
I
is?
really like that for the next generation. For me, it's I also work with that topic of digital detox. So I'm like 24/7 online, and sometimes I say Saturday in the morning, should I do it? And I do it. I put it off. I put my smartphone off and everything, and I go out and I like my rooftop garden, and I put my hands in the earth, and I said, okay, this is really a good day. So I think we need also that phases. Yeah.
And travel can help with that in a lot of ways. It's something to sell, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next generation. So one of your biggest projects in life seems to be educating the next generation of travel professionals.
Yes.
So talk about the work. So you're the Director of Education with, how do you say, IFTT, or you say IFIT? Or
we say IFIT,
So
International Federation for Travel and Technology.
Amazing.
So it's the biggest community in the world where scientific people, let's say professors from all over the world, are members members, and we had our 20th anniversary this year. We celebrated that in Jönköping in Sweden, and we have one conference a year. This is the Enter, and this year we had elections, so I was elected for the President of Education, and I'm very happy and very glad about this position because I want to bring together more the scientific part, the researchers, and we have brilliant researchers there, to open up their, let's say, results for the industry and for the students. At the moment, I think there's the industry, there are the researchers, and there are the students. So I think we have to put everything more together, that we have a prospering future and that we have solutions to topics that we are talking about. So if I look at the university, I can see a very stiff system and hierarchies, and there's a lecturer and he's talking to the audience and everybody's on Facebook and chatting.
Not paying attention. They're just like trying to avoid. Yeah, I'm taking notes. No, you're not.
Yeah. But okay, when you put it in another way, and like I do it, for example, in the summer term, I invite small and medium-sized companies with their questions, and they are pitching their questions to my students, and the students have to form teams and answer the questions within a special method like design thinking or whatever in one term. And they have to self-organize them, and they have to look for which method could fit and how can we talk to our partner and things like that. So this is, in the end, they tell me, it was so hard. But they learn much more than if I'm in front talking to them like a radio.
They realize how hard it is going to be. Yeah.
So I'm really keen in developing new methods and talking to the industry on the one part and to the researchers on the other part to get things done, to get the new, yes, let's say the following students or the following experts in the industry better prepared for that what is coming.
So we have a lot of viewers that are in the mid to hyper growth mode. So maybe they were 20 employees and now they're 100.
Yeah.
So it seems at that point as you grow, the rigidity kind of starts to set in. So what are some techniques if I'm high growth to make sure that as I add on all these people, we don't end up with this bureaucracy that makes us not, that makes it a terrible place to work and also maybe not so innovative?
I think one thing is always talking to each other, talking in teams, looking that the teams are from diverse, from gender. One of my topics is also gender equality. Tourism. In tourism, I'm sure you know that 60 to 70% of the people who are working worldwide in tourism are women, and they still are less paid than men. Yeah, the gender equality is a topic, or the interdisciplinarity of the team members, and there is a model I try to install now with some pilot destinations in Germany. It is reverse learning. So that means you have a person with a lot of experience in his job or her job, and you give this person a very young student. So the student maybe knows how to put everything on Facebook, on Instagram, and so on, and the experienced person knows how the business works. So if you put the two together on, let's say, the same level, and you don't say you are the
boss or
and
managing the person.
You put them on the same level, and there's no hierarchy between them. So I experienced that it is a very good result in the end, because they both learn from each other. You have to really guide that, because normally the older person says, "Oh, I don't want to have all this stuff," and these young people, and I'm threatened, and I don't understand that.
Like, what are they saying to me?
Yeah. And the young one says, "Oh, this guy, he's old-fashioned." So you have really to guide that. But in the end, both are happy because they can learn from each other, or in bigger teams, more people. And I think this is a very good idea to come together. Or I invite a lot of people to my, a lot of colleagues here from the industry. I worked 30 years in the industry. I invite them to my classes. And they are always very happy to present what they are doing. And then they are really, let's say, astonished about the questions from the students. So very big CEOs, and then one person says, okay, but this is not very sustainable what you are doing. And then we start. I had this discussion with Beach Inspector last year, and it was very interesting. In the end, he went out and he said, I never thought about my business like that. And this is what I really like. If the students think in a different way, and if, let's say, the business people I'm inviting get questions from the side of the students that they question their work or their business models or whatever they are doing.
It is interesting how hierarchy can prevent information or makes it only go one way. You know, the CEO just ends up alone and thinks he knows, but has no idea, you know? And I think that is a big issue either way. Or she. Could be a she CEO too. We should keep saying that. You know, female CEOs exist. We had Jane from C-Trip here, and you know, it's amazing to see these folks out there.
We have Jane and we have Jillian. So imagine we have a lot of, I don't know how many thousand people are here, and we are mentioning 2 female CEOs.
Yeah, and you have to say the same too, because there's not others. It's weird, right? Especially when you consider the capabilities of communication that everyone should have. You know, as a CEO, they need to know these things. And I think sometimes that the traditional CEOs get stuck in this box and they think they're smart, and they're actually not, which is sad because they're making a lot of money and
we have a lot of smart people in this industry, but still I think we have to talk more to each other, and if you are in the hierarchy very high, you lose the connection to the crowd, and especially to your customer or to your target group or whatever. And sometimes it helps. One of my colleagues, she's leading a big hotel as a manager, and one day in the year, everybody from the staff has to be like a customer. Check in, live in a hotel room, ask for the service in the hotel room, so that everybody has the experience how it is in the morning to take the shower, and if the shower doesn't work because everybody takes the shower, it's only cold water or whatever, that they get the experience how it is to be a guest. And I think this is also very interesting to step in the shoes of your customer once a year for 1 day or for 2 days.
Empathy.
Yeah,
it's an amazing thing for all of us, and I think today we need more of it than ever. So let's kind of close it out with if I'm listening to this and I am higher up and I'm a leader and I feel maybe that we have been inspired or we inspired someone to realize they're in a box. What do I do to get out of my box and get more information coming my way and making sure that what people are telling me is true, that they're not threatened by me being the boss? What would you recommend? How do I break that ice and make sure that I am being empathetic if I want to be?
One thing, you should be curious.
I like that.
If you can keep your curiosity. Remember when you were a child, everything was very interesting. And then when you start with, you go to school and they say, sit down, listen. And then it stops to be, there's a certain point somewhere and you say, okay, they tell me what I should do. So if you go back and you start to be curious again, and I think this helps a lot to come back to your empathy.
Or be a journalist.
Oh, be a journalist.
That's the whole job.
That's what you are.
I was the kid when they told me to sit down and be quiet in kindergarten. I was like, no, from the beginning. You know. So
great.
Well, we could talk forever. I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been a great perspective.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is Nick Vivion from tnoooz. We are live at ITB Day 1. There'll be more clips to come.